Tenet sells you a wild idea with a very serious face. It calls the trick entropy inversion, not time travel. That one choice is the movie's greatest strength and its biggest scientific bluff. Here's the hook. In Tenet, certain people and objects get inverted by a machine. Once inverted, they move backward through the world's time. Yet inside their own bodies, they still experience life forward. They still think forward, plan forward, and age forward. To them, their next breath is still their next breath. To everyone else, it looks like they are unliving events in reverse. That split between your personal arrow of experience and the world's arrow is genuinely interesting. It's also where the film starts borrowing real physics language. Entropy is not just things moving forward. Entropy is a measure of how many microscopic arrangements match what you see. The arrow of time in everyday life shows up because messy states are overwhelmingly more likely than neat ones. So when Tenet treats entropy like a switch you can flip, it steps off a cliff. Flipping entropy for a human is not like reversing a video clip. It would mean reversing, with absurd precision, the motion and correlations of unimaginably many particles, not just in your body, but in everything your body is entangled with, chemically, thermally, and informationally. The movie wants you to picture a turnstile that turns you around in time, but real thermodynamics does not give you a dial labeled, "Make this macroscopic thing run backward." A broken glass does not stay broken because physics forbids reassembly. It stays broken because reassembly requires near-perfect microscopic coordination. Tenet's machine would have to do that coordination for clothes, blood chemistry, brain states, and heat, all at once. Still, the film earns points for trying to pay the bill, even if it cannot. It doesn't hide behind pure magic. It keeps asking, okay, if you really were inverted, what would the world feel like? One of the movie's best instincts is the oxygen mask rule. Inverted people cannot breathe normal air. They need inverted oxygen carried with them. That detail is great hard science fiction grammar. It tells the audience, environmental exchange matters. It also gives the film a clean visual language. Masked usually means inverted. Unmasked usually means forward. But scientifically, that mask is only the first crack in the dam. Breathing is not the only irreversible chemistry you do. Digestion, immune response, wound healing, drug metabolism, sweating, and basic cellular energy production all depend on processes that run one way in time. If your body were inverted relative to the room, you would not just need special oxygen. You would need an entire compatible inverted biochemical bubble. Think about the Talon Highway sequence, where an inverted character fights, drives, and survives exposure to the normal world. Even if the lungs had the right gas, the skin and eyes are still in contact with normal air, dust, and exhaust. Body fluids meet ordinary matter. Microbes meet a backwards-running immune system. Even light becomes conceptually tricky because you are constantly exchanging energy and information with your surroundings. A scuba tank model makes inversion feel manageable. A more realistic model would make it feel like entering an incompatible universe. The movie also gestures at heat, and for a moment it's brilliant. There is a scene where a car explodes, and an inverted person experiences it as dangerous cold. The film's idea is that heat transfer reverses. What looks like fire to us is heat leaving them, from their perspective. That's a bold move, and it's one of Tenet's most memorable scientific flourishes. The problem is consistency. If heat exchange is reversed for inverted matter, then almost everything becomes a thermal hazard. Warm air, sunlight, friction from walking, and the heat of another person nearby would all behave strangely. Fire would not be the only special case. The entire everyday world would be a continuous, confusing negotiation of temperature. Friction is where the cracks become canyons. The movie needs tires to grip roads, boots to grip floors, and fists to transfer force in a familiar way. Those interactions normally dissipate energy as heat. If one participant's entropy production is backward and the other's is forward, the interface should not behave like a normal action scene. It should be unstable, or at least deeply non-classical. Tenet applies thermal reversal when it creates a cool set piece, then quietly returns to ordinary mechanics when it needs choreography. Now, the most iconic demonstration of inversion is the bullet. A bullet hole is already in the glass. The bullet jumps back into the gun. The character is told he is not firing, he is catching the bullet. As a metaphor, it's perfect. As physics, it creates a nightmare of cause and effect. A bullet hole is not just a hole. It is a record of stress patterns, fractures, heat, displaced material, and sound waves. If the damage exists before the shot, then the world has a physical effect with no forward time cause. Tenet responds with its central narrative rule. What's happened, happened. Everything is self-consistent. If you catch the bullet, then the bullet was always going to be caught, and the hole was always going to be there. That rule is not scientific proof, but it is disciplined storytelling. Many time travel plots treat paradox like confetti. Tenet builds a closed loop and commits to it. The airport fight is a great example. The protagonist fights a masked intruder who seems to move wrong, then later realizes it was his inverted self. From each point of view, the other person appears to anticipate actions, recoil before impact, or move with eerie inevitability. It's coherent as a loop, even if it is physically implausible as a dissipative, messy fight. This is where the film is oddly respectable. It understands that if you allow backward-moving agents, you need constraints. Otherwise, you get branching timelines, and the plot dissolves into infinite what-if edits. Tenet refuses that. It goes all in on one history, seen from both directions. Once you accept that rule, the movie's smartest strategic concept follows naturally: the temporal pincer movement. One team runs the mission forward in time, another team runs it backward. Information flows across the timeline, giving both sides an advantage. What happens at minute 9 can inform choices at minute 1, because someone has already lived minute 9, just in the other direction. Within the premise, that's a plausible use of future knowledge, and it highlights something real about conflict and planning. Information advantage can matter more than raw firepower. If you can coordinate across time, even imperfectly, tactics become a problem of consistency, not just courage. Tenet also makes a choice that most time travel stories avoid. Going back in time is slow. It is labor. To go back 2 weeks, you must live those 2 weeks inverted. You cannot just jump to 1920 and sightsee. You sit in a container and endure the days running the wrong way outside. That path-based rule makes the story feel more physical. Temporal distance has a cost. Logistics matter. People must eat, sleep, hide, and wait. Even though the underlying mechanism is fantasy, the operational thinking feels grounded. Then the film reaches for its biggest stakes and its least defined science. The algorithm. A future-built device that could invert the entropy of the entire world, supposedly to save future humanity after climate catastrophe. The idea is not to fix the past, but to overwrite it or annihilate it by reversing the planet's arrow of time. Scientifically, planetary inversion is beyond shaky. Earth is not a sealed object. It constantly exchanges radiation, particles, and momentum with space. It is gravitationally coupled to the moon and the sun. If Earth were inverted while the rest of the universe stayed forward, what happens to sunlight, to cosmic rays, to weather, to the oceans, to the biosphere? You do not get a stable refuge. You get a boundary-conditioned disaster. So where does that leave Tenet if you care about scientific realism? The physics vocabulary is real, but the core engineering is not. The biology nod is thoughtful, but nowhere near sufficient. And the big device is basically undefined. Yet the film does something rare. It treats time manipulation like a system with rules, costs, and constraints. Its realism is not in the mechanism. Its realism is in the discipline. If you take one idea with you, make it this. Tenet is a reminder that the best science fiction is not always right about science, but it is serious about consequences.